Hello guys, welcome to part 4 of Python beginner tutorial series, and I am Aryan, and today we will be talking about decisions. So we are going to be using if, else and elif statements in Python. So before we start with that, I want to tell you about one more conditional operator that I forgot to mention in my previous video, and these are very simple ones and you can understand it on your own. That is, let me show you, greater than equal to and less than equal to, and you just have to remember that the greater than and less than sign comes before the equality sign. If you write like this or this, then they won't work, because as you might have known from a previous video that the equality sign stands for the declaration operator. So it would try to assign the value of the greater than or equal to the variable, and then error message will pop out and your code won't work. So just remember this, how to write these operators, and rest you can understand on your own. So now let's get started with decision statements. So I gave you a rough idea of the topic in my previous video, if you have watched it till the end, obviously. So the format was something like this, right? If condition, if a condition is true, then do this. Okay, so there, what is a condition I have explained in detail in my previous video, and to brief it, it is anything that returns a boolean value that is true or false. So if the condition is true, then execute this, and if it is false, skip this. Simply, this is the meaning of if statement. So let me start with the syntax of this if statements. You have to first write if, then your condition. Here my condition will be x is equal to y, and if this is true, if x is equal to y, then print x. Okay, basic line. And if you saw that after the condition I have put a colon, and when I pressed enter, a few lines were left. There were few lines before the print statement, and these lines are there should be these spaces before the print, because these are indentation. Usually by default it has 4 spaces left, or 1 tabs you can press. So this is very important, because Python reads the line because of this indentation. If there was no indentation like this and I run the code, there would be an error. See, unexpected an indented block. Okay, so I need to do this, or simply enter. Okay, by default it leaves some space. So now let me give you a real example, not some partial code statements. Okay, so if we want, suppose there would be an input statement, input your age, pretty basic statement. Okay, now we want to classify the age into 2. That is, if the person who answers this question is greater than or equal to 18 in age, then a message would be shown that you are eligible for your driving license. Okay, so to write this, we need if age greater than equal to 18, print you are eligible for the driving license. Okay, I misspelled driving here. Okay, now if we run the code, see what would happen. If I put 13, that is less than 18, nothing would happen. And if we put equal to 18 or more than 18, suppose I put 19, you see it will show you are eligible for the driving license. Now many Python programmers don't put these quotations here, and if you have seen any other YouTube channel, they might have done so. So now if I run the code without the quotations, there would be an error. If I suppose I write 89, see, there is an error. Why is this? If you have watched my previous videos of the playlist properly, then you might know that by default the input statement converts the input into a string, and since 18 is an integer, you cannot compare an integer and a string together. So for this we need to convert the age into, okay, I messed up again. Why am I messing so much today? Okay, so if we converted integer it into an integer, okay, so now if I write 18, you are eligible for the driving license, and the code worked. Okay, now if you want to do like this, that if you are not eligible for the driving license, that is you are smaller than 18, then there should be at least a message for the person to know, right? So for this we use else statement. Okay, we don't need this. And else statement has the same syntax as if, that is else colon and an indent. Okay, now else statement won't work without an if statement. That is, there should be at least one if statement before an else statement, otherwise it won't work and there would be an error. Okay, so else print, if you are smaller than 18, then print you are too young. Okay, now if we run the code and write I am 8 years old, see, it writes you are too young. Okay, so now let me explain you how the code works. I told you Python earlier also, Python reads code line by line. So it would first read this code, then it would get the input, then it would go to this line. Now it would compare the input with this condition. If the input is greater than or equal to 18, then it would execute this, and if this condition becomes false, that is its age is less than 18 suppose, so then it would skip this whole part and move directly on to else. Okay, so I hope you are getting somewhat idea of how the code works. Okay, so now let us write a more complex code. That is, if we would classify the ages into 3, that is child, adult and senior citizen. Okay, so if age less than 18, I don't know, I am not remembering right now what is the age of children by most governments, that is 14 or 18. Please let me know in the comments below, because 18 on 18 you get voting rights and all that stuff, and on 14 you are eligible to work, means you don't come under child labor. So I'm confused right now. Please let me know in the comments whether it's 18 or 14. Right now I'm taking 18 as the age. So if age is less than 18, then print you are a child. Now I am introducing one more term, that is Elif. Now this term is not unique, or it is unique, but it is not something completely different or out of the box. It does the same work what an else and else statement would do, but you might or might not know that there can be only one if and one else statement, but there can be infinite Elif statement. So if there are only one else and one if, then how can we classify the data into 3 types? So we need one more statements, so we will be using Elif statements. There can be infinite Elif statements here in the code between if and else statement. Okay, so the Elif statement would state as age less than, if age is greater than 58, I think that's the retirement age. Please let me know in the comments below. Print you are a senior citizen. Okay, this is it. And now we can simply do, if both these parameters are not working, then we can use else, because an adult comes between from 18 to 58, right? So else print you are an adult. Okay, so now let's run the code. Okay, there would be an error. Wait a second. We need to convert this into an integer first, right? I have just converted whole this into an integer. Now let's run the code. See, first I will run it. I am 12 years old, so you are a child. Now okay, wait a second. That was in lag. Input your age. I am 34 years old. You are an adult. And if we run the code, I am 89 years old. You are a senior citizen. So you understand. Now let me add one more Elif statement here. Elif age equal 100. If you are 100 years old, print you have, let me see like this. Wow, you have reached 100 years of age. A pretty basic statement. I don't want to write fancy statements. Now if we execute it, see, now you can see the live example of how Python executes it. I am going to write age as 100. So see, it shows you are a senior citizen, but it should show that wow, you have reached the age of 100. Now that this is it because see, Python first went here and this condition failed, then it went here and this condition was true. So the Python executed this, and once it executed one Elif statement, it just ignored the rest of the else and if statements. I told you so in the previously also this. Okay, so if we want to run this code and we want this to be printed at the age of 100, just we need to place it before this statement. See, now this is above that, and if we run the code, wait a second. No, you can't see. No? If we run the code, see, if we run the code as 100, wow, you have reached an age of 100 and the code works. So this is it for the video, and this was a very important topic and very interesting to me and it was very interesting for me, and this is very important. You would need to know basic if and elif statements even and you would use it even when writing more advanced problems. So this is it for the video. In the next video we will be starting with chained conditionals, that is more advanced examples of this if and else statements. We would be doing some interesting things with that, and if you like that video, please do like this video and subscribe to our channel. This would encourage us a lot, and thanks for watching, and yeah, happy coding.